are live. Hello, 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 stream chat, if you are there. So then, welcome to the Tier 1 Grand Prix around Shanghai. We've just had the Tier 2 race, if you didn't see it earlier. My name is George. I was in that Tier 2 race actually. My debut race getting a P3. Don't mean to boast. But today we're here for Tier 1. Last time out we saw JDM Haters grabbing a dominant victory around Vietnam. So he will be hoping to do the same as we're just waiting for the session to get started. Say hello if you're in the stream chat. Just let me know that my mic is working and all that sort of jazz. Because as much as I love talking, I would rather not be talking to myself if you can't hear me. So just bear with us, stream. Looks like we're just waiting for people to ready up at the moment. 13 drivers here for the Chinese Grand Prix tonight. And it looks like we are ready to go. So while we are waiting for everyone to ready up in the session, here is the list of everyone in the races for this Chinese Grand Prix. You can see a pretty full lobby. Got 13 people in here. Obviously some haven't quite made it, but we'll be seeing if who was it? JDM Haters can make it 2 wins in a row following his win last time out at Vietnam. It was a dominant victory actually, won by over 20 seconds in that 50% race, so it'll be interesting to see what his form is like around the Chinese circuit. Obviously a very different one to Vietnam. And it does look like we are all set to go. So, if you are new around here, this is the SSR Safe Space Racing Tier 1 race around Shanghai. It is round 4 of the championship. And so far, 4 rounds in, is Payox Kings who leads the way in the title standings by a pretty big 18 points over Monkey in the Williams. Now, I haven't quite checked if all of them are here for this race, so who knows, maybe those gaps will increase because people are not here for this Grand Prix. But for this Chinese Grand Prix, we have a short qualifying session of around about 18 minutes for you to enjoy first, then obviously the little build up towards the race, and then a 50% race of, I believe it's 28 laps, if my memory is correct from the Tier 2 race. And obviously we will see how everyone gets on during that. My Discord keeps on lighting up for no apparent reason, so we'll have that to contend with. We are most certainly back, Echo. Good job in that Tier 2 race, by the way. Echo, if you didn't watch the Tier 2 race, go and watch it back. A bit of a mental dry to wet race earlier with Echo, who's in the stream chat at the moment, picking up a P2 on his debut. A certain GB Sanderson, whoever he could be, definitely not me, picking up a P3. Which, I think me and Echo will never get over that. I think we'll be permanently on cloud 9 from now onwards. Just wait for quali to start. While we get the pinwheel of death, ladies and gentlemen. A sight we all love to see. And here we go. So, We'll see who will be the first man out on track for this. Let's have a look what we can go up here. So, looking down the grid, we have King Chalupa in the Red Bull, SPL confirmed in the Mercedes with Charisma in the McLaren, Remix is in the Force India. It looks like actually we've got someone heading out on track. One of the Mercedes is out nice and early, so that will be Charisma, I believe. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at the tyres that everyone is fitting. So obviously we don't quite know what the weather's going to be for this weekend yet. The drivers will know, but I don't have that option to check what the weather's going to be like over the course of the weekend, as we just watch CPL on his outlap at the moment. Let's put on a track map for you as well. There we go. So it is Charisma who is the first man who will be set to start his flying lap. He's leading the way around the track at the moment. Echo wants to commentate as a special guest. Echo, it seems after the most recent update, it just sort of dies if you have more than two people, more than one person, spectating at the moment. So hopefully if that fixes, we'll be able to have more than one commentator. But for now, I'm going to try and juggle as many plates as I can by reading the stream chat, keeping my eye on the action out on track, and also inviting anyone back into the game that leaves. So please, stream chat, if I do miss something, shout at me and call me as many nasty names as you like, because I will probably miss something along the way. We have Charisma here, about to start his flying lap. He's on a set of soft tyres. Last time out, Charisma managed to finish in P10 around Vietnam. He was actually the last of the finishers in that race. It was a pretty chaotic Grand Prix to say the least, as you'd expect around Vietnam, to be honest. But he will be the man to set the initial pace in this session, so we just watch him go around the track. While we're watching him, I'll take you on a little rundown of the teams. So in the two Red Bulls today, we have King Chalupa and JDM Haters. We have SPL in the Mercedes with Charisma and Zampa in the McLarens. Remix is in the Racing Point, or Pink Mercedes, if you'd like to call it that. He is joined by Zip in that, with Dylan, the lone Ferrari for this race. Payouts Kings, who leads the title race at the moment, as I said earlier, by 18 points. He is the lone Renault, with Division and Prodigy, the two Alphas for this race. And then we've got Rabner in the Alpha Tauri, and we've also got Halo in what I believe is the Haas. So that is your rundown for this weekend of who is in which team. As we see SPL here about to come round the final corner to set his initial lap time. So we'll see how good we do, as there was a spin in the background there. I believe that was either, I think, the Racing Point of Remix. So it's a 1:32.8, the first time to go on the board from Charisma. That is immediately beaten by Division, who sets a 1:30.6. over 2 seconds quicker, so I have a feeling there may be more to come from Confirmed, perhaps. As for who's spun, I believe it was the Racing Point, not sure which one, but they have now come back into the pits, if you look on the minimap. As for other people on their laps at the moment, we'll have a look around. King Chalupa looks like he's on his flying lap, as is Charisma. But the next man to cross the line, it looks like it's going to be Zampa. He looks like he's on his flying lap at the moment, so we'll keep an eye on his progress. Echo's predicting a 1:29 coming soon. Will Zampa be the man to deliver that time? No, he only goes P2, half a second off the pole sitter Division. Well, provisional pole sitter Division. Pretty decent lap though from Zampa. I will change it actually, so it's not gap to the leader, it's the fastest lap, so you guys can see the exact lap times instead. King Chalupa goes fastest by 8 12 thousandths of a second there with a 1:30.6 lap time. So a very good start for King Chalupa, getting himself on provisional pole. But yet there is still 12 minutes left of the session, and as Echo has seen, I'm expecting there will be people in the 1:29s as Dylan now sets the fastest lap, a whole 4/10 of a second quicker than King Chalupa. We are seeing some very quick times on the board here. I can't quite remember. Who set the fastest time in the quali for Tier 2. Not too sure. So we'll keep our eye on people. Prodigy has got himself up into P4. As I was just dealing with people in the stream, one person saying it says Tier 2 in the stream chart. Oh, apparently it says that. I don't see that, I see a Tier 1. So maybe someone should have gone to spectators as Zampa comes in now from his flying lap. JDM Haters is going to go out on his hot lap. We're going to follow him for the next couple of minutes because, as I mentioned earlier, he was the winner last time out in Vietnam, so he'll be a very key man to keep our eyes on in this quali session. There has been, by the looks of it, a potential incident further back. No, it's just Prodigy going a little bit slow. Charisma's set a lap time, if you've seen it, a 1:38.0. I don't think that's quite going to be enough for quali to be for P1, to be honest, sir. But you never know. 1:35, he could do him all right. We're going to see Dylan coming into the pit lane, the current pole sitter on a 1:30.2 lap time. It's a very good start to qualifying for Dylan as he now pulls into the pit lane. Halo coming around the final corner. What sort of lap can Halo put in? He puts in a lap that sees him go P6 but on the mediums, which is quite interesting to see. Medium tyre set as his first lap for Halo, a 1:32.4. That delivers him a fair distance off the lead time, but on the mediums, so maybe we're seeing a bit of strategy coming in qualifying already. Obviously, I don't know the forecast for this race. Perhaps it's going to rain early on in the race and he's decided mediums are the best option, or perhaps he's just done a banker lap on mediums. Who knows? We'll keep our eyes now on... Oh, Payox Remix has had his lap time invalidated, so that's not an ideal start for him. Whereas Payox Kings is on a flying lap at the moment, actually coming up behind his namesake. We'll see what sort of lap time they can put in at the moment. Make sure, anyway, while we're watching this qualifying session, if you are new around here and are liking what you see, make sure you absolutely abuse that follow button. Just smash it so hard as though you're a noob into chicane. Just go crazy on that follow button. If you have a bit of spare money around as well, do consider subscribing to the Safe Space Racing channel. It will surely mean a lot to those guys over there. Well, thank them as well for giving me this chance at very much the last minute to host this race. It is surely going to be a chaotic one. As you see Payox Kings, well, looks again a bit of slipstream, a bit of a cheeky toe off Payox Remix. Whether that was intentional or not, I'm not too sure. We'll watch Payox Kings though come round the final corner here. Moves it nicely through the final corner, and that lap time will see him move up into P4. Decent start, 1:30.7, and it seems quite close between second down to fourth, only a tenth of a second between them, so that might be an interesting battle to watch develop. We've got yellow flags in the first sector for a couple of slow cars. JDM Haters, the man I was mentioning earlier, the race winner last time out at Vietnam, sets a 1:29.9. So Echo was spot on with his prediction there of us dropping into the 1:29s. It's Haters that will be the first man to do it, looking to continue his good form last time out in Vietnam. Look at the rest of the lads. out on laps at the moment, starting off with Zip. He's coming now into the third sector, coming around the tricky long right-hander. It's so crucial out of this corner to get a good run out onto that ridiculously long back straight. So I'm sure we'll see a lot of overtaking down this straight in the race later on tonight. Zip opens up the DRS, coming down to the tricky braking zone here. Can he get it right? Gets the car stopped nicely for the corner, takes a nice amount of curve as well. Gets straight back on the power, coming towards the final corner. Can he get anywhere near to JDM Hayter's 129.9 second lap time? We will see. And no, he can't. It's 142. I don't think that's going to be challenging anyone, to be honest, anytime soon. Not the fastest of laps on SSR Zip, so I do think he took that quite slow, to say the least. Pales Kings went up to 5th place, we already saw that. Someone else set a lap time, didn't see who it was behind him. Someone else is on a lap time. Now Oleg looks like he's going to be on a lap, whether he had his last one invalidated maybe. So I'm pretty certain he was on a lap last time around as well. Someone else just set a lap time there. I believe that was Rabner. He goes into P9 with a 132.2. We've got movement all across the board at the moment. That was the McLaren of Zampa, I believe, improving on his lap time to get up into 3rd on a 130.5. Still about half a second off the lead time though, so we'll have to see in the final 6 minutes of the session whether he is able to challenge for that pole position. We're yet to see a lap time only from Oleg at the moment, but like I said a minute ago, I believe he is on a lap at the moment. Maybe he might pull into the pit lane though. We'll see. No, he doesn't. He does stay out, and he's going to come down towards the line now and sets a 132.1 on a medium set of tyres as well. So we've got 3 people who have set their first lap times on the mediums. It's an interesting bit of strategy coming in there. SSR Zip has retired from the session. Don't know if that was intentional. I believe it was though. Obviously can't spectate him at the moment. We do have yellow flags though in the first sector, so I think that was Zip's car retiring. As we now watch SPL Confirmed start his flying lap on a set of the softs. We'll see if we can improve on his 132.8. Thank you for the follows coming through. Make sure if you haven't already, go and follow this channel, the Safe Space Racing channel. We are live every Saturday at 10 for the Tier 2 races and every Saturday at around midnight for the Tier 1 races, along with a load of other races during the week that I'm sure you will very much enjoy. So, right now, 4 minutes left of the session. We currently have, running you down the order, we have the Red Bull of Haters on provisional pole in a 129.9 second lap time. Looking at the gap to the leader, we have Prodigy even. Oh, I've said it wrong second time. I got it right the first time and then changed my mind. Don't mind me. We've got Prodigy coming out. Haters actually on his way back out for his second times lap run, but Prodigy is in P2, about a 1/10 of a second off pole, with Dylan in the Ferrari currently on his outlap. He is 2/10 off pole as it stands. Going further down the grid, finishing off the second row is the second Alfa Romeo. Strong showing from them so far in P2 and P4. Division half a second off the pole time, with Zampa within a 1/10 of division in P5. The other Red Bull of King Chalupa is in P6. He's 6/10 of a second down on his teammate though at the moment, and looks like he's warmed up his tyres ready for his probably final run in qualifying. The first, the one and only Renault for this race, Kings, is in P7. He is 7/10 down on the leader at the moment, and will surely be hoping to close down that gap a little bit. on his second run because he is the championship leader at the moment, so I'm sure he'll be liking to get a bit higher up the grid than he currently is. Then we have SSR Charisma, the second McLaren, currently in P8. He is on a time lap, but he's going particularly slow, so whether he's lining himself up for another attempt, we'll wait and see. We have Remix in P9, 2 seconds off the pole time at the moment, and currently on his outlap. Then we have the first Mercedes of Oleg, who's just been pushed into the garage there, as you can see. Well, I think it was him anyway. It might have been SPL that we saw there. But Oleg rounds out the top 10, 2.1 seconds off the pole time, and I believe this might be him that we're actually seeing now leaving the garage. Then we have Rabner in P11, the one and only AlphaTauri, about 2.2 seconds off the pole time at the moment, with the one and only Haas of Halo in P12. Confirmed is in P13, he's now leaving the pit lane, as has his teammate a second ago. And SSR Zip is in last place, rounding out the grid at the moment, 9 seconds off the pole time, and he's just given up the go, and honestly, I don't blame him. He's probably gone and got himself a nice snack while he waits, and he's probably enjoying life a lot more than the guys on track at the moment. So we're going to keep our eyes on JDM Haters at the moment, who is on his final timed lap of the session. I'm sure he won't have another attempt after this. SLR Dylan has pulled it a day at P3. That's the best he's going to hope for this session. So he is going to call it a day, but we'll stick on board with JDM Haters for the rest of his lap, see if he's able to continue his good form that he had in Vietnam by taking pole position. Now coming down towards the final sector, into the hairpin, and now up towards the final corner. Will JDM Haters be able to improve on his current pole time? A 129.9 to beat. He comes up to the line. It's a 129.8. Sorry, getting the numbers wrong now. It's not started well. We're getting names wrong, we're getting numbers wrong. Honestly, follow for the best quality commentary you will ever see. So, JDM Haters improves his lap time to a 129.8. That will surely be very difficult to beat by the end of the session. Prodigy is currently in the pit lane. He will not be improving on his P2. Meanwhile, King Chalupa is out on a lap at the moment, so he is probably the only man that could challenge JDM Haters at the moment. Will he be able to make it a Red Bull 1-2 as he comes towards the final hairpin? Brakes nicely, gets it turned in, taking it a bit slowly there. Actually, I think he might have backed out on his lap time. It wasn't the fastest run through the hairpin I have ever seen, and indeed he is pulling into the pits. So it'll be a 1-4 as it stands for the Red Bull team, and a 2-3 for the Alfa Romeo team. Zampa is going very slowly on his lap time, so it looks like he has given up the goats as well for this session. We'll see if there are people on the lap. It looks like the first one will be Oleg, who is tearing down the back straight at the moment, coming towards the hairpin as he goes past a slow moving Zampa. Gets it turned in, slight front left lockup going into the corner. Let's hope that doesn't slow him down too much. It's turned in, a little bit of a touch on the grass there. That might have cost him a tiny bit, but crossing the line, Oleg goes P8. A 1 minute, let's change it so we can see the lap. A 1 minute 31.1. Very decent lap time there from Oleg. So it's going to be P8 for the first Mercedes. Kings just crossing the line, stays P7 with his lap time. Don't believe he improved. Next towards the line will be Paz Remix, who's had his lap time invalidated by the looks of it, so he will not be improving on his P11. The only man left on track at the moment looks like it's Haters, who's just doing a lap of honour by the looks of it, because everyone else has completed their lap times. So, a little run down the grid for you at the end of qualifying. Pole position goes to the winner last time out in Vietnam. It is Haters with a 129.8, the only man to actually break into the 129s in this qualifying session. So a very impressive performance from him. The Prodigy is in P2 on a 130.0, good lap time for the Alfa Romeo driver, who will be hoping to improve on the P5 that he got last time out in Vietnam, and also boost his way up the title standings. Then we have the lead Ferrari of SLR Dillon. He's managed to get a 130.2, with King Chalupa, the second Red Bull, exactly 2 tenths behind. Division is the second Alfa Romeo in 5th, with Zampa completing the third row of the grid in 6th. A very small margin between them two. Then we go back by another 1.5 tenths back to Perez Kings in 7th, the one and only Renault, with the lead Mercedes of Oleg in 8th on a 131.1. Halo was just beaten by Oleg, so he lines up in 9th, also with a 130.1, with then a 3/10 gap back to Charisma, who rounds out the top 10 in the second McLaren. Remix makes it in P11. He gets a free choice of tyres as well at the start of the race, so be interested to see his strategy going forward, with Rabner in P12 and SPL confirmed the second Mercedes in P13, and Zip with that absolutely stunning 139.5 lap time. Inspirational scenes by Zip, you will never see anything like it, and he will round out the grid in P14. So, as we wait for quali to finish, if you haven't already, smash that follow button, because we have some of the best racing content around at the moment. Scrappy, how do you spectate the race? I'm sorry, with how the new update's gone at the moment, it's just, for some reason, if you have more than one person spectating, the game just dies, basically. So for now, it's only one commentator. You can continue spectating the race like you are at the moment by watching the stream. And I've just got a party invite from Zip. We'll see what all that's about. I think he might have lost connection to the race. And indeed he has. So we're going to send him a quick invite. There we go. My bad, I hadn't checked that Zip had lost connection, so Zip is back in the session. So we wait now for everyone to set their strategies for the race. I think everyone else is in the race. If I have missed someone, please let me know. There are 26 of you watching at the moment, so I'm sure one of you will spot something that I have missed. And also, while we're waiting, get your predictions out in the chat. We'll see who can predict the race winner, the podium, maybe the driver of the day, or maybe even just the fastest lap. Who knows? Let's see what your predictions are for the race winner of the Tier 1 SSR Chinese Grand Prix. As we are 10 seconds away from the start of the session. Zip has left the session again. That's a bit annoying. We'll try and get an invite to him before the lights go out. And here we go. 5 lights are out and we are underway. JDM Haters looking to get a good start off the grid. It looks like he has got a good launch, but Prodigy will try and hold it up the inside. But it will be JDM Haters to take the lead through turn 1, holding on to that position after a fantastic qualifying session, with Prodigy in P2. Looking back down the rest of the grid, we've got a bit of a battle. Chalupa has managed to make his way up into P3 ahead of Dylan, who's dropped back to P4. Behind, the McLaren of Zampa is making moves to try and keep his position, but that is an absolute dive bomb there from Charisma. Bit of a cheeky one there. He has dropped back dramatically from that down to P10. That will probably be looked at by the stewards at the end of the race. But for now, we are in to P1 for JDM Haters. He stays in P1 with Prodigy in P2. For some reason, I have no game audio. I don't know if you're getting game audio. You're not. Why have we got no game audio? There we go. Don't know why that wasn't working, so we had to listen to just my voice for a second. So, coming round onto the back straight, JDM Haters in the lead with already a 1.3 second lead over Prodigy in second place. King Chalupa might look to make a move into the hairpin, but behind it looks like Division is already making a move on SLR Dylan into the chicane, hairpin even, and it makes the move stick up into P4 for Division now. Dylan dropping back further. Behind, looking at the action going backwards, JDM Haters obviously taking the lead and holding on to it. Behind you see a McLaren running very wide there. That was Charisma running off the track. And we'll watch this little battle here between Dylan and Division. See if Dylan can get back at the second Alfa Romeo into the hairpin at the end of Sector 1. It looks like he might be a bit too far back to try this time. Looking further back, further down the order, we've got Zampa, who's managed to get P7. I think that's where he'd actually started his Grand Prix in. So he's managed to hold on to his position despite all the chaos with his teammates. There's a predicted tyre strategy for the Grand Prix. We'll see how they're all doing on that. In terms of detail, we'll look at the position change early on. It's been a good start for both Chalupa and Division, who have managed to gain a position from the start, but Dylan will be looking to come back at them if he can, following his pretty average start, it's fair to say. And there we go, we'll do gap to the leader. So, coming down into the hairpin, any moves going to be made? It doesn't look like it at the moment. There is a bit of a battle going on behind though between the two K drivers. King's getting past Reese here, annihilated by Oleg in that camera angle. That was a bit disturbing. But on lap 3, we go through the order again. It is JDM Haters who is just extending his lead at the front at the moment. 1.8 second advantage over Prodigy, who is in second. The second Red Bull even of King Chalupa is in third. He's got a similar gap to Prodigy as Haters has to second place. Division is in third, putting pressure on King Chalupa, looking to get himself on the podium and make it a double podium for Alfa Romeo. And he might even be thinking of having a look not too soon. We'll stick on board with this battle for third place at the moment. Chalupa versus Division versus Dylan, as Chalupa runs wide out of the double left-hander, and it looks like Division's going to go for the move into the left-hander at the end of Sector 2. Gets the move done, and up into P3 goes Division. Chalupa dropping back down to P4 where he started. Dylan running very wide out of that corner there. Might compromise his run down the straight. We'll see if Halo can potentially make a move on him into the hairpin. Not the best camera angle, but we do see Zampa is gaining and gaining on him. Doesn't make the move in the end, as in fact Halo's run really deep there, and Zampa might get the cutback move. He's going to be on the outside going into the final corner. He has to back out of it. Well defended by Halo. Bit lucky there, you could perhaps argue. Looking back down the order, Oleg will be hoping to get himself into this battle, as we see AJ is cheering on Oleg in the chat. Oleg will be hoping to move his way up the grid after a pretty decent qualifying performance, to be fair, from the Mercedes, and he has already gained one position in this race. Up into P7, he'll be looking to make moves on people around. We have missed one overtake though. King Chalupa has got back past Division for P3. So it looks like this is going to be a bit of a ding-dong battle throughout the race between Chalupa, Division and potentially Halo as well, if he can catch back up to this battle. Looking down the rest of the grid, Charisma is currently in the pits, so I'm guessing there's a collision somewhere for him. I'm guessing it might have been with Dylan, given he is down in P13 at the moment. Yellow flags at turn 1. It looks like we've had a spin for Charisma. Not the greatest start to the race for the second McLaren there. And Zip has left the session, so yet again we need to invite him back in. Zip's Internet's clearly being powered by potatoes today, and I don't think the potatoes have been going very well this summer. In the lead though, going on to lap 5, JDM Haters extending his advantage over Prodigy to about 3.5 seconds now. Pretty dominant lead that he's picking up here with Prodigy in P2. He's got a 3-second gap back down to his teammate Division, who has got back past King Chalupa for P3, with Chalupa now down into P4. Halo has had a fantastic race so far to be up 4 positions, but he is now very much having to defend for his life from the sharks that are behind him in Zampa and Kings and Oleg, who is just dropping back after his good start at the moment. Perhaps Remix might make a move into the hairpin. Decides against it a bit too far back this time. As for the other battle of Zampa versus Kings, it looks like they're going to go side by side through fast left-hander, and Kings makes the move stick. A brilliant move up the inside there by the Renault driver on Zampa. Fantastic little daring overtake, and the Renault moves up into P6. For some reason, our interval has just decided to die, so if you'd like to try and guess the gaps between all the cars, you're more than welcome to, but the interval has completely died, as there's a collision I've just seen on the minimap between Rabner and Zip, I believe. The two were together, and then Zip has gone round. So perhaps something to look into after the race, and maybe the stewards will look into that. We'll have to see. Elsewhere up the grid though, we'll go back to this battle over P5. Oh, it's now becoming a battle over P3 between Division, Chalupa, Halo, Kings, Zampa and Oleg, as Division pulls into the pit lane, as does Chalupa, both coming in for early pit stops at the end of lap 6. So at the end of lap 5. Interesting strategy there, as you see behind. In comes Division for his pit stop. Will he get jumped by Chalupa? No, he won't. Good pit stop from the Alfa Romeo boards. Alfa Romeo boys. Thank you AJ for helping out Scrappy there in the chat. That helps me a lot. I'm juggling about 20 plates at the moment, and to be honest, they are going to fall at some point. 3-second time penalty for confirmed, multiple warnings. It's the first one I've noticed. I'm not sure if it is the first one of the race. But on lap 6 we're going to jump back to the battle over P3, which is now, with people coming into the pits, becoming very interesting as to whether people will get the undercut, whether it will work out for them. So currently, interval is back working, which you'll all be pleased to know. I'm sure that is the highlight of your day, seeing that interval back working. So it is JDM Haters still out in the lead at the moment with a commanding 5.5 second lead over Prodigy in P2, who also has a pretty commanding lead over P3, Piles Kings. Into the pits comes the leader. Haters coming in for his pit stop at the end of lap 6. He will be joined by the Prodigy, who comes in for his pit stop, as does Kings. But Halo staying out for another lap. I'm not sure what sort of tyres he's on at the moment. He is on mediums, so we'll keep an eye on that rather than the position change for a little while. Halo is still on the soft tyres in the lead, so he's really trying to stretch the life of his tyres at the moment. With Oleg in P2, also yet to pit, he started on the mediums, as did Piles Remix. He is also yet to pit after starting on the mediums. JDM Haters is doing a different strategy called to what we saw in the Tier 2 race. Obviously that one dramatically affected by rain. If you haven't seen that stream, I strongly suggest going and watching it when it becomes a YouTube video later on. It was a brilliant dry to wet race there. But JDM Haters, in what looks like it's going to be an all dry race, managed to pick a different strategy to everyone else. He's come out on the hard tyres, so he's going to try and do a one stop by the looks of it until the end of the race. Echo is confused about something in the stream chat. I'm sure we'll find out what it is. Meanwhile, looking at the rest of the grid, this might be an interesting little battle to watch coming down into the hairpin, as Oleg will look to make a move on Halo. Pulls to the inside, leaving a good amount of room. Will they go 3 wide? Not quite 3 wide. But Halo is going to get jumped by both Oleg and Remix coming into the hairpin, and I'm assuming Halo will pull into the pit lane now as well, and indeed he does. That releases Oleg and Remix to battle for the lead until Haters manages to catch up. Zip has left the session again. I mean, at this point, we are starting to wonder what your internet is powered by, and whether you are connected to the Wi-Fi at the local McDonald's, Zip, because this has been a pretty poor showing from your Wi-Fi so far. Meanwhile though, Oleg and Remix are still battling it out over P1. They came very close to each other through the long right-hander. Echo wondering what the weather's looking like. I'm going by the strategy that Haters has gone for by going onto those hard tyres, that it looks like we might be in for a fully dry race for a change. Which, after the Tier 2 race, like I said, I think a fully dry race is one of the most annoying things for a Tier 2 driver to see, because we had to put up with the hell of dry to intermediates to wets in our race. But looking back at the battle for the lead, currently between Oleg and Remix, we might see a move by Remix coming into this hairpin, because the gap is not very big at all. And indeed, we are going to see a mix. They pull to the inside, Oleg squeezing him to the right hand side of the track, but Remix gets in front and pulls straight back in front of Oleg, straight in front of his car, to say, I saw what you did there and I do not approve of it, I'm going to do it straight back to you. Remix taking the lead from Oleg in very feisty circumstances, so whether we will see more battling like that over the rest of the race, we'll have to wait and see, as Oleg in fact does take back that lead straight away into turn 1. What a little battle these two are having, but this battle is losing them time and allowing JDM Haters to catch up. The gap now down to 7 seconds between him and Remix. He's gained a second on that last lap alone. Looking further down the grid, it'll be interesting to see what the guys who have pitted can do. So the Prodigy has already caught up to Rabner, who is on a set of old mediums at the moment. There has been a collision further down the grid. Oh dear. Now you do not like to see this. The two McLarens colliding by the looks of things. That is not what you like to see, and I'm sure right now the team boss at McLaren, Zak Brown, is going to be losing his goddamn mind at these two. They collide into the hairpin, and it looks like Charisma has come off worse on that, but Zampa has definitely lost a lot of time recently with that collision. Elsewhere on the grid, we'll go back. I'm sure I just saw someone cutting across the grass there. I think I did. Rabner's gone round. Not sure what happened there. I saw someone cutting across the grass as we skipped through all the replay cameras, so I'm guessing Rabner might have collided with someone. Whether that was Zip, please, can you let me commentate for 5 minutes before your internet has a fit? We'll invite you back, but Jesus Christ, what is your internet made out of? We'll try again for him, and we'll see if he can rejoin, but it's not looking hopeful for Zip, put it that way. Rabner actually has a bit of front wing damage there. I'm not sure if you saw the front right end plate is missing on his AlphaTauri front wing, so whether he will pit for repairs soon, we'll wait and see. But meanwhile, looking down the rest of the order, Remix and Oleg still battling it out for the lead at the moment. They are on 9-lap-old mediums, and I'm pretty certain they will be coming in the coming laps. But who will be coming into the pit lane first, we will have to wait and see. Blade Death thinks that Zip's internet is powered by a hamster. To be honest, I think if it's powered by a hamster, I think that hamster is bloody lazy and needs to get back in his wheel. Meanwhile though, someone who isn't lazy, JDM Haters, is closing the gap dramatically on the two leaders, who actually, Remix has gone for the move again as you see him pull past the Mercedes of Oleg going into the hairpin to retake the lead on lap 10. But like I said, Haters is closing the gap down to 3.5 seconds now between him and Oleg, so I'm pretty certain there might be a battle between them in the coming laps. Maybe not just yet. Meanwhile, looking further down the grid, I thought we'd seen a move, but King's not quite making it yet. It's quite interesting actually as we look down the grid to see all the different choices in strategy at the moment. So we've got Remix and Oleg, who will try to go as long as they can, I think, on their set of mediums. They are yet to pit and are the only people on the grid still yet to pit. Meanwhile, Haters has gone for a set of the hards, whilst the two Alfa Romeos have both gone for a set of the mediums. So it'll be interesting to see if the Alfa Romeos have the out-and-out pace to get past Haters and try and extend that advantage over him enough to be a pit stop by the end of the race. Because obviously they will not, they will have to pit again, whereas Haters will not. Meanwhile, Kings looks like he's going for a similar strategy to his Red Bull colleague. Not really colleague, are they? But his fellow racer, shall we say. He's gone for the same strategy out on a set of hards, whereas King Chalupa has differed to his Red Bull teammate by going on a set of mediums. So Red Bull unsure of their strategy, it seems, for this Grand Prix. They are unsure of what strategy to go for, and have in fact split their two drivers. At the front, it seems like Remix has managed to pull out a bit of a lead on Oleg, as both of them actually point to the pits, but Remix almost does a Lewis Hamilton and puts it in the wall of the pit lane coming in. So Remix into the pit lane, as is Oleg. I doubt Oleg will jump Remix, but we will have a look as Perez Kings gets a 3-second time penalty and moves his way up as he comes into the pit lane. As Remix comes into the pit lane and comes out in what is going to be P8 for Remix. So it seems like it's going to be normal service resumed at the front, with Haters retaking the lead and with an 8.5 second advantage over Prodigy. I think Haters is pretty much having a nice Saturday drive here. Well, should I say Sunday drive now? It's past midnight. He is properly going to have a Sunday drive to the finish if all goes his way. But of course, we can't rule out a safety car. We saw two of them, I believe it was, in the Tier 2 race, and they almost completely cocked up my race. They did cock up other people's races, that's for certain. So maybe a safety car could change these strategies dramatically. Looking down the rest of the grid though, Prodigy has a second advantage over his teammate Division, which I'm sure he'll be looking to try and keep at least at a second, and probably hoping that Division is able to slow up the two behind him of Kings and Chalupa. Kings on a set of hards with King Chalupa on a set of mediums. Behind them we have the Ferrari of Dylan, who is looking to recover from a pretty annoying start for him. He lost a lot of time towards the start of the race and dropped right back down to the back of the grid, but he's now back up in P6 at the moment and seemingly lapping quite well. Halo is in P7 in the one and only house of this race, with Remix 2 seconds behind. 2 seconds behind him in P8 with Oleg. Again, differing strategies here, which is interesting to see. Remix pitting from his set of mediums to go onto a set of hards. We will definitely be going to the end of the Grand Prix now on those, whereas Oleg directly behind him pits for a set of the soft tyres and will no doubt be going for another pit stop before the end of the race as he goes for a move down the outside. Goes a bit late though on the brakes, locks up the front right tyre and slots back in behind Remix in P9. 26 oh, hang on a second. Oleg's gone for the move that we saw Kings do earlier in the race up the inside. Beautiful move there by Oleg, and I'm sure he'll be very happy to have got that done so quickly, as he can now push on those much faster soft tyres, although he does pick up a 3-second time penalty for extending the track limits too many times. Looking elsewhere in the grid, it looks like we've got a Mercedes who's just DNF'd. SPL confirms is out of the race on the start-finish straight there. Not sure quite how that's happened, or whether he has just decided to give up. But no safety car for that retirement, which I'm sure haters will be pleased to see. Looking back though, further down the grid, we're going to look at this battle as Zip gets past. Oh, bit of contact there between Charisma and Zip, as Charisma picks up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. I'm guessing that was for corner cutting. But as very clever there, Blade, as he said in the stream chat, SPL is now unconfirmed after that DNF. Not going very well for him. Meanwhile, there are a few battles on track at the moment. There's quite a big gap between Remix and Zampa in the P9 and P10, so whether that gap might close by the end of the race, I'm not sure, but I think Zampa will be pretty annoyed with how his race has gone so far with that collision with his teammate. So we will get Zampa's point of view on this though at the end of the race. We will get in after the race is finished. We always get in the top 3 drivers and have a little chat about them with how their race has gone, as well as Zampa with him being basically the supreme leader of SSR. We will get him in, and also the driver of the day if he isn't one of the top 3 or Zampa. But stick around until then, because we will obviously be watching every single battle for the remaining half of the race. We have reached the halfway distance, which, as Murray Walker would say, with half gone, there is half left, or something along those lines. And so far, it seems like the main battle is over P2, with Prodigy, Division, Kings and Chalupa all within a second of one another. So it'll be interesting to see how that battle develops, as well as with the different strategy, with Kings, as we see, on the hard tyres, whereas the 3 around him on the mediums. So Kings, in fairness, Kings doing a very respectable job to keep up with this battle, given that he is on a harder tyre compound. So maybe even suggesting that there isn't that much difference between the mediums and the hards this weekend. And in fact, that goes to show, when you look at the gap between Haters and Prodigy, it is only growing, now at 10 seconds between the two of them. So it's quite clear that Haters has some sort of insane pace this weekend, as he did in Vietnam in the last race, where he won by over 20 seconds, I believe it was, if I remember right. I'm just going to check that before I look like an idiot. Yes, 21 seconds he won by last time in Vietnam. Be interesting to see if he can better that this weekend. Looking behind them now though, it looks like Chalupa is probably the closest man to making an overtake at the moment, as he opens the DRS in the slipstream of Kings, but he's not going to be close enough to make a move on this occasion. This battle between P2 and P5 just seemingly cancelling each other out at the moment. Looking further down the grid, Oleg is just behind Halo at the moment, so we'll see if there's a battle to be had between them two. As well as looking further down the grid again, the McLaren of Charisma is closing in on his teammate and probably currently arch enemy Zampa, following their collision earlier on. 16 laps in though, still 12 laps of racing to go, and as I've said multiple times, it seems that the main battle to be had in this race is going to be over P2. We'll see how that develops. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that follow button, turn on your notifications so you'll be notified every time that SSR goes live with racing, whether it's for Friday Fight Night, where rules just completely go out the window and everyone just tries to kill each other, which, I mean, if you're into that sort of thing and you want to see people die, then firstly probably seek professional help if you feel like that, but also make sure you tune in to the stream on Friday night, as well as the 2 races tonight. We had Tier 2 at 10 o'clock, very interesting dry to wet race. If you haven't already seen it, make sure to go and check it out after the end of this stream. And of course, as you're watching right now, the Tier 1 race, the main attraction, as we see a late move here from Paris Kings up the inside of Division. Can he make it stick on the exit? He will have the outside line though, going into the final corner, which definitely isn't ideal. Can he make it stick around the outside? They're still side by side here, Kings and Division, but eventually Kings has to give it up. and he will try it later on in the lap, I'm sure. But what a little bit of wheel-to-wheel racing there between the Alfa Romeo and the Renault. Particularly impressive from Kings, given he is on a harder set of tyres. But it is pretty much a single file race so far, not half as interesting as the Tier 2 race, I've got to say. It could be really shaken up though if we do see a safety car. We can't rule it out when it is around China, because, well, we had 2 in the Tier 2 race, maybe we'll have 1 in the Tier 1 race. Looking back down the field, we'll look back at Pace Kings, see if he can catch back up to Division over the coming laps. And we'll also keep our eye out and see when people start coming in for their pit stops as well, for the second round of pit stops for those that are actually doing 2 pit stops today. Riding on board though with Kings coming down the back straight, he will open up DRS momentarily. There we go, right on cue. It's as though I planned it. And coming down into the hairpin, it looks like he is going to make a move on Division, goes up the inside. Really bad camera angle for that. But up the inside goes Kings, he gets Division on traction out of the hairpin, and up into the podium places is the Renault, as we have King Chalupa here coming into the pit lane on 10-lap old mediums. Brakes for the pit line, and in he comes. We'll see what sort of tyres he straps on going forward in this race. It is another set of the mediums going on to Chalupa's car. So he will now look to go to the end, another 10 laps on those tyres. We'll see how he gets on and see if the undercut on the cars ahead of him works out well. Moving back forward though to the battle between Kings and Division. Still only half second between the 2 of them. We'll see if that closes down over the course of this lap. I'm expecting to see Division come into the pits at the end of this lap. Given that Chalupa did the same, I'm guessing he will come in, if nothing else, to cover off the strategic move by Chalupa. Bit of a front left lock up there by Kings into the quick left right hander. Thank you to everyone tuning in, by the way. It's good to have you all here with us for this race. If you didn't already follow, make sure to click the follow button. I will say it so many times this race, as we see a move up ahead going on there. I'm pretty certain that's Zip, who's a lap down, getting in the way of people. Not the best idea. Zip is really just having a great race, isn't he? He's just loving life at the moment, and aren't we all? We are just loving seeing it, as into the pits comes Division. So we'll ride on board with Division for this pit stop and see if he can come out ahead of Chalupa, or whether the undercut will have worked for the Red Bull driver. So into his pit box he comes, strapping on a set of the soft tyres to go to the end. That's a daring move. Go and make those softs last another 9 laps, and there goes Chalupa, and in fact the undercut has worked an absolute treat for the Red Bull, as he jumps ahead of Division by about 2 seconds. So the undercut working fantastically well there for King Chalupa. Out at the front, as you can see by the leaderboards, Haters still extending that lead. It's now 11 seconds ahead of Prodigy, who I think will probably be coming in this lap, probably for a set of softs to go to the end of his race. Kings has closed the gap on him to 0.5 of a second, but I do not expect that Kings will be coming into the pits anytime soon. Neither will Dylan in P4. I think he, after what was a pretty shaky start, actually, in saying that, he might come into the pits late on. You never know, his tyres are 14 laps old compared to those of people around him. It would take a monumental tyre-saving job from Dylan to make those tyres do, what would it be, 22 laps it would be, as Prodigy pulls into the pit lane. He's going to put on a set of the soft tyres, I would expect, as he brakes for the pit limiter. And into the pit lane he comes. Dylan moves up into P3, as behind Oleg has also come into pit lane. I think he'll be strapping on another set of softs, and he will also go to the end, the lead and final Mercedes in the race. Meanwhile, Chalupa, up in P6 division, has closed the gap by about half a second over that last lap, and he has his teammate Prodigy directly behind him on a fresh set of the mediums on Prodigy. So, not sure if he's used all of his soft tyres or whether he just doesn't feel confident in taking those softs right to the end. But Prodigy is on the mediums, whereas his teammate division ahead of him is on the softs. Oleg is behind both of them, about 7 seconds back on a set of the soft tyres, with Zampa rounding out the top 10 on his set of hards. Charisma has come into the pit lane. He is also strapped on a set of softs. He will look to go to the end of the race now in his McLaren. And I'm sure there'll be words between Zampa and Charisma at the end of this race, if there haven't been already. We'll probably get Zampa's point of view on that collision as well, and see if it was purely a racing incident or whether it was a stupid move by himself or Charisma. But meanwhile, here is our leader, our runaway leader, it's fair to say. A man who's probably made himself and got himself a fair selection of assorted biscuits during this race, because his lead is that commanding. Almost 13 seconds ahead of second place Kings, as you see a fastest lap there by division in P7, so he'll be getting the extra points. I can't remember whether we award 2 for fastest lap in tier 1. I believe we do, so he will be awarded the extra points for that fastest lap. But meanwhile, we're just right on board with Mr. Sunday Driver himself. A very calm race for haters. You'd almost imagine that he is in tier 0, racing against everyone else who is a tier below him, given how commanding this race has been for him. Behind him, Kings is also in a world of his own. I mean, he might as well put his feet up and start reading the magazine down this straight. He could practically make an omelette going down here. He has 12 seconds gap ahead of him to haters, and 7 seconds, practically 8 seconds, back to the Ferrari of Dylan, who I'm sure is managing his tyres and probably having a mini breakdown in the cockpit, looking at the percentages that his tyres are no doubt on after 16 laps. Behind him, Halo has a 4.5 second gap that he will be trying to close up on 12 lap old mediums. I'm sure he will probably be pulling into the pits before the end of the race, if those tyres are in fact 12 laps old. Behind him, there's a 5.7 second gap back to Payas Remix in the lead Racing Point Pink Mercedes. He is in P5, as behind him is King Chalupa by 1.5 seconds roughly on a fresh-ish set of the mediums, with Division behind him battling with his teammate Prodigy, who actually set the fastest lap on the last lap. So he saw his teammate the lap before on the soft tyres set the fastest lap of the race and went, anything you can do, I can do better on a slower set of tyres, as he set the fastest lap on the mediums on that previous lap. Seems we are in for a nice little battle though over P5 between Remix, Chalupa, Division and Prodigy. Meanwhile, everywhere else, we have nice gaps. At the moment, we have breathing space, and we have just time to put your feet up between everyone else. You could literally write a book in the gap between haters and Kings. I'm sure there are many other things you could do before those two are catch each other up, because it's ridiculous the advantage that haters has today. So we're going to focus entirely on this battle as we see King Chalupa move to the inside going into the hairpin. Up he goes in the inside of Remix, squeezes him out a bit, but Remix gets good traction on those hard tyres out of the corner, but does have to settle with P6, as in fact Division dive bombs his way through, gets full on Daniel Ricciardo out there. and dive bombs his way up the inside into that final corner and moves himself up into P6. And Prodigy has also got past now as well, up into P7 as a little tap on the right rear there from Remix. Luckily doesn't do any damage. But, I mean, Remix has just gone from happily smiling with his race in P5 to all of a sudden P8. Welcome to the midfield battle. It's just like F1, to be honest. I should be showing you only haters and let you not see that midfield battle at all if we were being like the actual F1 coverage. But thankfully for you, we will get to watch the midfield battle today, given there is practically nothing else going on at the front of the grid. Division picks up a 3-second time penalty. It'll be interesting to see how many penalties everyone has at the end of this race and how that affects their finishing positions. But coming onto the back straight here, JDM Haters picks up a 5-second time penalty for speeding into the pit lane. Now, that will look like it will be added on at the end of the race rather than at the start. I'm not too sure though. Looks like he also got his front wing fixed there, so I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure what happened there with Haters. He managed to speed into the pit lane and he's out in P4 at the moment. So, all of a sudden, after me spending the last 10 minutes going on about what Haters could do with his time advantage, how he could, we've had people saying he could rewrite the Bible, or the Old Testament, or the Avengers Endgame script. He could have written the Declaration for Independence of his own state in that time. But all of a sudden, he finds himself down in P3 with an absolute mountain to climb in the last few laps, as Kings leads the way now by 10 seconds over Dylan, who is on 19-lap-old hard tyres. How Dylan is still going when Haters has pit, I'm not quite sure. We'll probably get Haters' point of view on this, on his race though, and see what happened with his tyres, or whether he just decided to pit. We'll get his point of view at the end of the race, because it looks like he probably will be odds on for a podium. Meanwhile, out at the front though, it is now the Renault that leads the way of Piles Kings by 10 seconds, and it looks like he is going to continue on for yet another lap as we go on to lap 25. So whether he is taking the gamble that he can make his tyres last until the very end, I'm not too sure. But behind him, Dylan in P2 is on 20-lap-old hard tyres. I mean, fair play to Dylan, even if he doesn't finish on the podium, if he decides to go all the way on these tyres, fair play to him. 20 laps on a set of hard tyres around China is no mean feat. Behind him though, Haters is catching up at a fair rate of knots. He is probably going to make a move in the next lap, if not before. He sets purple first sector, so perhaps he might even make a move coming into the double left-hander. He's going to go for it around the outside. It turns to the inside, contact between the two of them, but Haters forces his way through up into P2. And now the Red Bull will look to close the 11-second gap that he has to the leader, Piles Kings. Dylan now drops down into P3. He has a 6.3 second lead over SSR Halo on 16 lap-old mediums. What is it with P3 and P4 about going stupidly long on their set of tyres today? Looking behind Halo though, as Halo actually runs very wide through the long right-hander there onto the back straight. We have yellow flags as Remix looks to have spun. But we'll cut back to the battle as we see Chalupa get ahead of SSR Halo. Into P4 goes Chalupa on 10-lap younger tyres. And, well, King Chalupa will now set his sights on trying to catch SSR Dylan in the last few laps, as Halo drops back another position there. And in fact pulls into the pit lane, so he has decided 16 laps is enough. I'm not doing any more on these tyres, and he will sack them off for the final couple of laps for a set of the softs. Elsewhere though, Prodigy. Okay, we're just going to go back to Halo because I've just noticed something on my screen. I mean, if someone wants to take the crown of just having the biggest meme of a race, Halo is really trying to take that crown off Zip at the moment. I think Zip is in the session. I'm not sure if he ended up rejoining. Zampa has also come out in mediums. Is it raining? It looks like it is damp on track, but that's it. It looks... I mean, it is slightly raining. But, I mean, for the sake of a few laps, whether or not it makes a massive difference or not, we'll wait and see. It looks like, actually, quite a few people are peeling into the pit lane now. So it'll be interesting to see if the leaders do that. In fact, I can give you the answer right now. Kings is not pitting. He's stayed out for yet another lap. He's going to try and seed these medium tyres right to the end. And I'm sure that will be a big struggle for him and also for Dylan, who's decided to stay out. Their tyres are going to be crying by this point. They are that old. But in reducing grip, they're going to stay out and try and see it through to the end, as is JDM Haters, who is closing the gap on Kings. It was 11 seconds with about 4 laps to go. It's now halved that, down to 5 seconds. So perhaps we could be seeing a late battle for the lead here. Elsewhere though, we can see we have Halo, Zampa, Charisma and Rabner all on intermediates at the moment. I think though that pit stop may be a little bit unnecessary, because given we are about to go on to that final lap, it doesn't look like they're going to be able to catch up to everyone around them. Going on the time from the leader, you can see everyone down to Zampa is on the lead lap. Zampa also on that lead lap, but looks like he is about to be lapped himself at some point. But in terms of the battles up and down the grid, you can see there everyone has at least a second and a half to the car ahead of them, so we'll stick on board instead with our race leader, Pios Kings. He has a 3.8 second advantage over JDM Haters. That has come down by 1.2 seconds in about half a lap. So can we maybe see Haters make a late dive bomb for the lead in this race? 3.3 seconds now the gap between Kings and Haters on this final lap. Be interesting to see how that develops over the course of this lap though. Just remind you, we have Dylan and Kings, both on 20 plus lap old hard tyres. They've done fantastically well in this race in terms of managing their tyres. Kings might end up kicking himself here for not managing his tyres as well as Kings has done out in the lead. But that gap now down to 2.3 seconds. I don't think Haters is going to do it, to be honest. He gets a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting. He is really throwing everything at it here, and he'll be hoping that Pios Kings has more penalties than he does. If he has 3 seconds more than Haters, as it stands, Haters will take the win. But coming down into the hairpin at the moment on this final lap, the rain is now definitely coming down as there's a lock-up on that front right for Pios Kings. He comes towards the final corner, a 2-second lead. He's going to hold off Haters, definitely on track anyway. And around the final corner, it's going to be Pios Kings to take the win of the Shanghai Grand Prix. JDM Haters in P2 did have more penalties than Kings did. He takes P2. Looking down the rest of the order, it's going to be Dylan, who has fantastically managed his tyres over the course of this race, for P3 in the Ferrari after 24 laps on his hard tyres. Chalupa takes... Oh no, I've just seen Prodigy jumps Dylan for P3 on the line because of penalties. That is a real kick in the dick there for Dylan. After managing his tyres so well over the course of the race, it's only going to be P4. Chalupa in P5, Division in P6, Oleg in P7, Remix crosses the line in P8. There's going to be Halo who will take P9, with Zampa going to be the final man across the grid in P10. But what a race there from Powers Kings. It looks all set for JDM Haters to take a comfortable victory. But in the end, he had to pit. He couldn't manage his tyres as well as the man in front of him. And in fact, I thought for a second, Kings had actually picked up a puncture on his cooldown lap. What a story that would have been if he picked up a puncture on the cooldown lap after the race. But there you have it, folks. End of the race. We're just going to wait for Zampa now to cross the line. It is Powers Kings, though, the man who will be taking to the top step of the podium today. His Renault taking P1 ahead of the Red Bull of JDM Haters. A fantastic race all round for Powers Kings. Beautifully managed his tyres and just commanded the race once he did eventually get up into the lead. Driver of the day, I think, actually did go to Powers Kings as well, and deservedly so. Fantastic drive by the Renault. He will take to the top step of the podium with Haters in P2, the Alfa Romeo, I believe it was Prodigy, in P3. We will be chatting to them in just a minute and get their thoughts on the race. But heartbreak for Dylan, I've got to say at the end. He managed his tyres for over 20 laps, those hard tyres, and didn't quite manage to get onto the podium. He finished P3 on the track, but penalties saw him drop down to P4. So we are now going to get our top three today in. As you can see there are your results. Prodigy, fair play to him, didn't pick up a single penalty over that race. A fantastic result there for him. But it will be the Renault of Powers Kings who will extend his lead at the top of the title standings following that race. He takes the win here at the Shanghai International Circuit ahead of JDM Haters in the Red Bull and Prodigy in P3. Dylan, Chalupa, Division, Oleg Remix, Halo, Zampa round out the top 10 with Charisma, Rabner, Zip and SPL confirmed the rest of the drivers. I'm now going to invite our winners from that race. So we will have a chat to them. We want JDM Haters from P2. Who else was it? The Prodigy and Powers Kings, wherever he is on the list. We'll get these lads into the party and get their thoughts on the race, as well as getting Zampa into the party as well. It'd be interesting to hear his thoughts on a collision with his teammate. So we'll get those lads into the party. Here we go. Make sure, followers, once you're in the party, you tick that box to allow your audio to be included.
Blech. Hi.
Well then, I mean, we'll start off with Powers Kings. What a race for you. It looked like you were all set for second place until Haters had to pit late on. Kings, how was that race for you?
I felt like I was sort of gifted the win. But on lap one, I was pushed off the track and then had to concede about 4 positions. So that didn't help. And then
I've got to say, you amazingly managed your tyres until the end. I mean, what was it, about 20 laps you spent on that set of hards?
It's a 29 lap race, isn't it? 23 laps.
Something like that. It was ridiculous how well you managed those tyres. And to be fair, you and Dylan were saying I was saying in commentary during the race, you two both went over 20 laps on your set of hards. And obviously you managed to get the win after Haters had to pit late on. Dylan just slipped off the podium right at the end, but a fantastic race all round for you, Kings. And
yeah, Just was struggling though to keep my tyres alive, being behind both alphas though. That was the hardest part of the race.
Yeah, was it difficult towards the end as well when obviously it started to rain in the last 2 laps with your tyres going off as it was? Did the grip just completely fall off the cliff at that point?
No, I felt like I had something left, but then obviously there was another few laps, obviously the inters were going on.
Well, congratulations, Kings. You're going to extend your lead at the top of the standings after that performance today. Very well done to you. We'll come on to now haters. It looked like you were in control of it for pretty much all the race. We were saying about how you could have written the Avengers Endgame script or rewritten the Bible with the gap that you had at the front, but obviously the tyres fall away towards the end, was it? Well, it was a very close race in the end, to be fair to you, and I think someone hasn't ticked the box, AJ is saying in the chat, so if you haven't ticked that box to make sure your audio's being broadcast, make sure you do it for us, but haters obviously...
Does include my audio. On the party.
If you look in the party.
It's at the top. Fucking noob. He's got a cage.
It's not rocket science, people.
No worries, we all have technical issues. We'll move on while you're sorting that out. I'll have a quick chat with the Prodigy. You managed to get P3 after Dylan's penalties there. Do you feel a little bit fortunate to be on the podium, or do you think you would have caught him anyway if it hadn't been for those podiums?
At the end it looked like
penalties?
people were staying out. So I was supposed to go onto the softs at the end, but my strategy didn't save at the beginning. It wanted me to go soft to hard, and I changed it to soft, medium, soft, and I forgot to change that in the race. But it still worked out. I was getting good pace on the mediums.
I gotta say, yeah, your pace throughout was really good. We saw you having a great battle with your teammate Division at one point of the race as well. That was quite an entertaining watch to see. We were almost expecting that we'd see a second clash between the teammates like we saw with the 2 McLarens. We'll come to you in a second on that, Zampa. I'm sure you've got a few words to say on that one. But Prodigy, obviously, P3, fantastic result. A bit lucky perhaps with Dylan's penalties, but very deserved podium, it's got to be said. You managed the tyres very well throughout and
GG's.
Just went about your work, it's got to be said.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And now, if I dare ask you, Zampa, what happened between you and Charisma? Because I saw it on the minimap. I didn't quite see exactly what happened. I just saw 2 McLarens going very slowly together.
He just got a bit excited going into a corner. And just we bumped tyres. Neither of us got damage from that, I don't think. But yeah, it went ideal. That was just a shoddy race all over, to be honest. For me, anyway. The hard tyres are not fun around there. It
didn't look like your most enjoyable race, it's got to be said.
No, well, the 4 of us
still managed to come home in
P10,
I think it was. But
yeah, 10 in the end. But I think it was me, PB, Sean. We're all slogging it at the back on hards, miles away from everyone, so we were like, fuck it, let's all just put inters on and see what happens.
Yeah, I hadn't,
it didn't change any result.
I hadn't even noticed the rain was falling at that point, so I'd seen Oleg come into the pit lane and come out on a set of intermediates, and I was thinking that he'd just decided to finish his race as a joke on intermediates, but it turned out it did end up raining. Obviously, the gamble didn't quite
No,
have the
it
effect
wasn't
I guess
raining
you were
heavy
hoping
enough.
for it,
No.
but it wasn't quite as heavy rain as in the Tier 2 race earlier on today. But will there
So I
be
think
words
this-
between you and Charisma following
Oh, we've
that,
had
or-
words already. We're all good. It's all good. It happens. This
all
is what we
good.
do every week. We have a terrible start and hopefully rebuild. But we didn't rebuild.
And hopefully Zach Brown doesn't punish you too much
We'll be all
following that collision. So, but anyway, GG's fellas, very good race out there today. An exciting end after what was a bit of a sort of procession almost at one point, but a very exciting end. And thank you to everyone tuning in as well. We'll be back. When is the next stream, Zab?
So
You probably
we
know
are
more
back.
than me for this.
We are back tomorrow night at midnight UK time for Tier 3. I think we got 19 people on the grid tomorrow night, so should be,
So it'll be a very
big one.
packed race there with 19 people in Tier 3.
We'll see if we get any more.
No
in as
doubt.
well. Big thank you
Yes,
to
I think
GB
we-
for doing comms and streaming today. He dug us out of a hole there.
No problem.
I haven't watched it back
No
yet,
problem.
but I'm sure he did a good job.
Please don't. No, it was very good fun, and hopefully everyone in the stream enjoyed it as well. Hopefully I'll be back at some point to do
Sure
some
they-
commentary.
Yeah.
But-
Alright, let's call it.
Yeah,
Thank
fingers
you,
crossed.
GB.
We'll be back for another stream tomorrow night. Stick around for that at midnight tomorrow. We'll be back for Tier 3, and thank you everyone for watching. GG's, fellas.